Hey, here to talk about things going on in the world around us. In short, a lot, but the one biggest thing I really need to talk about right now is the economy. And I actually wrote an article about this, and I have posted the article in the description below. But the Federal Reserve just had an internal system glitch where it wasn't able to send money to any investors who do pull from the Federal Reserve for nearly 3 hours. This, of course, has hindered the economy and is potentially a sign of major cracks um, in the economic foundations which lie underneath the entire United States. So, a couple scary things about this. 2 days ago, economist, what was his name? Uh, Glenn Chambers wrote an article titled "How to Spot the Stock Market and Bitcoin Crash of 2021." This was 2 days ago, and he was um, citing that Bitcoin, of course, has shot up over 1,000% a year, and he was also citing the GameStop runs. And it's probably no coincidence after this outage that happened today in the Federal Reserve, uh, there was another run on GameStop, and GameStop in a day, has tripled in value. And a lot of people are thinking like, oh, well, stuff's going up. Stuff's going up. That's got to mean that the economy is healthy. Not necessarily. Another thing that is also going up is the value of silver and gold, and it has grown more in a year in value than it has at any other point in its history of economic value, and at least in the United States history. This is especially concerning because when that goes up, that's a sign of real bad times, because that is one of the most commonly used safeguards for people of wealth to fall back upon if the dollar goes. Another huge concern is, and this is always a huge concern that people tend to ignore, is the U.S. debt clock. It's now at 27, nearly $28 trillion, and that's just money we're probably never going to pay back. Um, so people in general, if you hear me talking about this, might think like, oh, well, it's just doom and gloom, prepper talk, worst case scenario, and it's like, no, it's starting to look more and more realistic. I mean, the U.S. economy is a consumer economy that is not backed by anything else. It's entirely backed by the faith of its users. So the way it survives is consumerism, and things that hinder consumerism are job loss and things like natural disasters. Job loss, for instance, economists were predicting that there would be 600,000 new people on unemployment when the end of February of 2021. That's from February 1st to February 28th. And so far, there have been almost 900,000, over 800,000 people file on unemployment. So economists are normally not that far off. That's one. Another is natural disasters and things that just, cause everything to stop in major regions of the United States. That has happened this last week. Texas, big blizzard. People keep saying Texas, but it affected 13 states. 4.3 million people without power. And anyone inside the state of Texas will openly share that they couldn't get food anywhere and there are supply chain disruptions happening. Now, additional to that, that was what was already happening was the COVID lockdowns, which happened last year and are still happening in many states. Obviously has severely hindered our economy. And, our government solution thus far has been just print money, print money, print money. In fact, in 2020, last year, 21% of every dollar that has ever existed was made in 2021 or made in 2020, and the solution of just adding more and more debt to the economy is inevitable. There's a little personal history to share with you. I really got involved politically because I was always somewhat interested, but I really got involved. In 2012, I was in charge of the 30th Congressional District, which is most of the San Fernando Valley, for the Ron Paul campaign. And Ron Paul really opened my eyes economically. One book I think everyone needs to read is Ludwig von Mises, or Mises. I never remember the pronunciation, just for the spelling. He talks about the importance of having a backed currency, meaning it has to have silver or gold behind it, or something like that. In fact, when this was written, the dollar was still on the silver standard, and it hasn't been on the silver standard since 1968, I believe. I don't know if I have the year right, but sometime around then. And we've been on a fiat currency, monopoly money. Again, it's entirely now backed on just the faith of its users and consumerism. And now that we've lost consumerism, now we have unemployment highs, we are seriously running the risk of the dollar completely collapsing. So, and that Ron Paul meme of "it's happening" is really, it's real now. It's probably happening. So if you're watching this, make sure you have enough food in your home that is preservable outside of a refrigerator, that will last the supply chain disruptions that would happen due to a collapse of the dollar. And make sure you have some sort of currency that isn't a dollar that you've invested in. And if you're in stocks, depending on the stock, but I'm just saying it's getting close to selling time. It's getting real close to selling time, even if you're in GameStop, and if those other stocks are just shooting up in value. And if you do sell, you don't put it all in the bank. Try and invest some of it in something stable like gold. And I'm just sharing this with the internet because I think it needs to get out there. The U.S. is not as economically healthy as it has been, just as recent as 2019. And the best thing to do would be for us to take care of ourselves. In closing, it could have, honestly, in closing, it could have been a bug. Could have been some hacker in their mom's basement who caused this outage. But really, in my opinion, what most likely it could have been was the Federal Reserve trying to stop the bleeding, trying to prevent too much investment too quickly. Because if you want to know about hyperinflation, there have been a lot of instances historically of hyperinflation happening. Hyperinflation is when the value of a currency shoots up so high that the true value of it is no longer represented. Most famous recent thing in history was the Zimbabwe dollar. Hyperinflated so much that they introduced the $500 billion or $500 million bill to its people. And literally, to go buy something at a store in Zimbabwe, they would have to use millions of dollars to buy dinner for their families. I'm not saying necessarily it's going to happen here, but in the article I've written, I detail some of that. So go ahead and read the article I've written in the description below. And lastly, here's a quote by Louis Pasteur. Fortune favors the prepared mind. So even if the economy doesn't collapse, even if things turn out okay and we pull out of these lockdowns and this terrible economic situation, it doesn't hurt to have enough food in your home to last 2 months. Doesn't hurt to have some dollars in the bank that are, oh, sorry, some gold or silver in the bank. None of that hurts. Because right now, with gold and silver raising in value, it's guaranteed to make some money even if things turn out okay. So that's for me, guys. I'll catch you guys on the next one.